Hello, I'm Steph from iDriver Classic, and as you can probably hear from the roaring engines behind me, we are at Goodwood 2025. Now in today's video, I'm going to give you a taste of what life is like off track and show you some of the exciting things that are happening at Goodwood 2025. Now let's kick it off by looking at some race cars. Before I show you the race cars at Goodwood, I know that you're going to ask me what we arrived in. Well, we came in a convoy for over 250 miles. We were in the Singer Gazelle. Ed and Clive were in his 850 Sport that he imported from Italy himself. And then Joe was in his dad's Vauxhall Victor. I love that car. It was originally an English car, went over to Australia and then came back again, which probably explains why it's so remarkably clean. Now to the paddocks. Now if you've been to Goodwood before, you'll know that at Revival you need a paddock pass to access some of these areas. I did get my hands on one of those, so I'm able to show you some of the bits that's happening. Now if you're thinking to yourself, Steph, how do I get a paddock pass? Well, you can sign up for Fellowship, which is the waiting list for Goodwood membership, or if you're a Goodwood member already, you can buy these, or if you're a fellow already, you can buy these. You can get per membership, I think it's yourself and a +1. Now I was able to get in here, as I'm always able to, and oh goodness, this is one of my favourite areas. But if you're thinking, oh, I don't think I can stretch to a Fellowship before the next Revival, don't panic, because you can get a bit of a taster for it. There are some cars that are parked in the open paddocks and there are some that are parked in the pass areas only. Now if you are going into the pass areas only, I do want to issue you a bit of an update on the dress codes. So it used to be men had to be in shirt and tie and ladies in a dress or a suit, and the rules have slightly changed. If you look online, it is period dress or smart dress. But I mean, goodness me, if you aren't going to make an effort for one of the most amazing race meets of the year, then when are you going to make the effort for? Now, I think it's a very small ask. It keeps the area looking fabulous. So when you're filming it, and you'll be able to see in the background there that everybody is dressed quite smartly. And I love that. And I love the fact that when you come into these areas, you get to see the cars up close. You can talk to people that are working on the cars, find out what's going on. And one of the things that I really like as well is if you've been watching a race and you've seen a particular car that you like, give it half an hour, you can go down into the paddocks and you can see all of these cars yourselves. And you can see, I don't know, it feels for me like you get a full picture because you get to see the car itself, you get to see the race. And whilst this video itself isn't focused on the racing, and I should probably say that again if you're watching this, is that you get to see everything that's off the track, because you can watch the racing from home. But for me, the magic of Revival is coming and seeing everything, smelling everything, experiencing it. Now these areas that I'm filming now, I think these are the free areas. There is so much to see, and I should say that as well, is that it is unbelievable how much you can see, and it feels like such a privilege as well that you can get so close to these cars and that you're trusted to do so, because there are so many places around the world where everything is behind a barrier or you've got a fence that you can't access, whereas at Goodwood Revival you can get close to the cars, you can chat to the people working on them. Quite often as well you'll see the drivers that you've been watching on the track down with the cars that they're racing, and you can talk to them. Last year, Jerry Halliwell's son was racing, as in Ginger Spice, Spice Girls. Her son was racing in the Setrington Cup, which I'm going to show you a bit of later. And her and Christian Horner, her husband, that you might know from Racing World as well, they were down with all the J40s, just chatting away to people. And I thought, blimey, you're just never going to see that. Paul and Ed saw Jackie Stewart this year, just down in the paddocks, and I was so mad that I missed that. But I was off filming some other stuff that I wanted to show you. So yes, in short, oh, it is incredible. And if you visited this area yourself, it would be lovely to understand what you enjoyed about it. Because for me, I love seeing the cars. I mean, look at this. This guy had more bravery than me. I would not be reversing. It's just, oh, it's just magical. Now let me show you something else that I really liked in the paddocks. it was this chap who was painting the cars, a real highlight for me. But what does it all sound like down here? Well, pop some ear defenders on and I'll let you have a listen. I realised that we're way into this video and I haven't spoken to you about the revival theme for this year. So each year they pick a bit of a theme and they roll with it. So in previous years they've had Festival of Britain, they had the alien invasion and the spaceship and everything. And this year the theme or the feel is the Summer of Love. And I love the 60s, so I was really excited about how they were going to do it, but also a little bit fearful about whether it was going to be impactful. I don't know, in my head I had really high expectations and goodness me, Goodwood have blown me away with the offering. So come on, let me show you some of the bits, and also then we're going to go and have a look at some of the camper vans because it's the anniversary, I think it's of the T2, and so they've got loads of campers here as well. And do you know what, it's lovely to see them here. It's lovely to see how everybody personalises them and makes them their own. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the little hippie area at the front of the event, and then I'm going to take you to the campers. Let's go. Now, if you're a regular to iDriver Classic, you'll know that one of my biggest bugbears with YouTube is that if any commercial music is playing in the background, they'll have you and you get a strike and then they strip all the sound out of your video. So instead, I try and work around that. So when there's commercial music at an event, I'll just silence the entire video for you and talk over the top, which is what I'm doing today. Now this area was fab. I didn't know how it was going to go down because it's that later 60s vibe, but I think they carried it off perfectly. And the best bit about it was there were loads of people that were joining in that weren't even part of the Goodwood Actors Guild. They were just randoms that were having a laugh with everyone. And that for me is one of the best bits about Goodwood, is that everyone gets so into it and it's just so fun. Now look, I have to tell you a little story as I show you around these campers, is that I am not a VW person. I had a very disastrous midlife crisis where I went and bought a Mark II Golf, and annoyingly, because people do this with British Leyland all the time, it just put me off VW forever. However, what I can appreciate, a little bit like I can appreciate a Persian cat, but would never own one because I know that the vet's bills would be absolutely insane, is that I can appreciate campers and VW campers at that. This era are so beautiful. I love the design, I love the shape of them. And one of the things I think is particularly brilliant about them, and you see this with things like Minis as well, and Morris Minors, it used to be a thing until they got expensive and people got serious about them, is that people aren't frightened to personalise a VW camper and make it their very own. And people really had here. And I thought that one of the things that was really lovely about this was that they were dotted around Goodwood absolutely everywhere. So I didn't just visit one area to film these. I walked around the entire area where there weren't race cars and tried to capture them in different places. And there were hundreds of them. And I thought, God, this must have been an absolute feat to pull them all together. So for you, as you walk round, they might just be street furniture or things that take your passing as you go past. But bravo to whoever organised these displays, because not only were they all there, but they were also of an incredibly high calibre, and there were rare examples and there were vehicles which were used for service. There were all sorts of different campers, and I thought it was just
brilliant to see them all here. So yeah, so it's not really something that I would usually cover, but I'm actually really pleased they were here because I really personally enjoyed looking around them, and it was something that I would like to see Goodwood do again. And perhaps for 2028 we could have a display of Morris Minors, because of course it'll be the anniversary of them coming out in 1948, which is absolutely hideous to think it was so long ago. But yeah, I like this and I'd like to see it done again. Now, Goodwood isn't just about old cars, because you've also got the Earls Court Motor Show. Now, I love the Earls Court Motor Show, and it's something that I put in every single year, because unlike some of the other displays that I'll show you later on, where they might only be there for 1 year, or there might be something that is only there for a couple of years, Earls Court Motor Show is a fixed building at Goodwood, and each year they invite brands to come in and display whatever they like. And what brands tend to do is they tend to do a mix of old and new. And this year, the two main names that were in there that really stood out for me were BMW and Mini. Now, I want to show you the entirety of the Earls Court Motor Show, and if you're wondering why it's so quiet in some bits of this video, as in traffic wise, it's because I tried to sneak in at the end of each day and try and film bits so that I could show you it in much better detail, because Earls Court Motor Show is rammed. Now, if you are coming to Goodwood yourself, a little tip that I'm going to give you is don't come in here when it's raining, or if you do, don't make that the only time you come in here. Come in here when it's sunny or when the weather's good, because that's when the traffic is going to be at its lowest, or at the start of the day or at the end of the day. This is an area you cannot afford to miss, and I love how brands go all out and they do these incredible displays. This year BMW had a little shop, and something that they did as well, and I thought was really cute, was they did postcards, and you could mail postcards back to people. So you wrote the postcard out and they sent it away for you free of charge. I took the mickey slightly because I sent one postcard to Australia and another one to Worthing. So Ryan, if you're watching this, you're expecting a postcard from all of us. And I really liked it. You couldn't buy all the bits in the shop, but they'd laid everything out, and I thought it was just rather marvellous, to be honest. And I loved the display that they did. Now I'm going to flip round in just a second after I've shown you all of this and show you their little garage as well. But if you are coming into these areas and you don't know if there are any takeaways, so sometimes they hand out stickers or pin badges, don't be frightened to ask the staff. We'll have a quick look at the workshop because I thought this was great, although not true to life, because working in a classic restoration business at ADO Restoration, as I do day to day, I'm telling you now, it is never this tidy. Everything is always everywhere. You've got various bits and pieces. Tools aren't neatly in the display boards, but it is a really great display. And I loved how they had a mix of bits that they'd obviously recreated for the displays, and then bits that they'd obviously taken, like heritage pieces that were 50, 60 years old, and put them into the display. You remember last year that the BMW display was outside their little garage, so bringing it into Earls Court Motor Show and the way that they laid it all out, I thought they did a fab job of it. Although the lights were slightly strange, so if it looks a little bit weird on your screen at home, that's because the lighting inside Earls Court Motor Show is like a motor show, which does make it notoriously hard to get all photographed or filmed, and sometimes the colours don't come looking quite as you'd expect. Now, these cars were different BMWs which had been made over by artists. So you had David Hockney, which was probably my favourite, and then you had some of the other artists that I've maybe not necessarily heard of, because I'm a bit of an uncultured beast. I do enjoy art, but the kind of art I enjoy is never popular artists. I tend to enjoy people like Tretyakov that people think is terrible. But anyway, that's your Liechtenstein car. Again, no barriers, and I love this, that you can get really close and that you're trusted. And guess what? As I said when we did the video of Le Mans Classic earlier this year, if you trust that people have common sense, they do actually put it into action. And none of these vehicles were damaged. People were very respectful. So look, people out there that are organising events, let's put more trust in the general public, because it seems that you can do that. And then you had a little bit of Land Rover as well. I realised when I was doing my voiceover that I hadn't actually put in the footage from the mini stand, and I was like, right, I've got to include this for you all because it is marvellous. Look at it, brilliant. They had a live band playing, they had competitions. It was absolutely smashing, and they had these tellies as well, and I would have loved to have pinched one, but I think I might have got kicked off Goodwood and that would have just been too much for me. The weather might be a little bit strange. It keeps changing from rain to sun to blazing sun, and it's all over the place. However, there's one thing that happens every year at Goodwood Revival, and that is the Stretchington Cup. It's one of my favourite races after the St Mary's Trophy, and I wanted to show you a little bit of it. So it's where they race the J40s. If you've ever watched my J40 video, you'll know the story behind it, when they sent the cut-offs of the metal over to the Welsh factory, and they would use the factory as a training ground for future Austin managers. It's a car which, even though it's never been driven on the road technically with an engine, it's a car that has so much history and importance attached to it. So it's lovely to see it here recognised, and it's also lovely, I think, to give children something to do and to bring them into that racing world and to get them excited, because remember, if you hook them in young, you can keep them in there for life. The ultimate brainwash. Now let's watch the race together, and then we'll go and see what else we can find. One of my favourite things to bang on about, as many of you know, is trying to get the next generation interested in classic cars. And what better way to get kids interested in classic cars than to pop them in a J40, send them out on a racetrack and give them that racing experience, because they even have little mini chicanes, everything. It's so wonderful how well put together this race is. And it's brilliant because you see other children that aren't necessarily racing, watching and also getting excited, and I love that, because the thing is it's much easier, as I always love saying, to hook somebody who's already a little bit interested in classic cars into more classic cars. If you try and take people that have no touch point with cars whatsoever and then say to them, right, be interested, they've got no reference point. So this is wonderful, and I think that even children that maybe can't be going out on the track, this can inspire them to think, well, could I be involved in classic cars? So I love this, and I love the fact that Goodwood makes such a special thing of it as well. And I really feel like the J40s are having a bit of a renaissance at the moment, in that when I first started coming, they were just out on the track, and nowadays you've got the big J40 store out on the high street at Goodwood. It's great, because even for parents that maybe can't afford a J40, it might put their child into a classic pedal car or a pedal car of some sort, and then get them interested in classic cars. It's so important. Now look, I'm really, really clumsy, and if you put me on a bike or a scooter of any description, I would then be involved within, I would say, a mile of being in some sort of road traffic collision, because I am so clumsy, I would fall off a bike. And whenever I see people riding motorbikes, I always think, how are you doing this? I'm full of admiration for them. And I loved the fact that this year Goodwood had a display, which was mods and rockers. And so they had all the bikes out, they had all the scooters out, they had a live band that was supporting. It was absolutely brilliant. So if you remember, if you watched last year's video, this was all set up like the garages. This year it was meant to be set up like Liverpool, so they had different signage and mentions of places that were big in that swinging 60s Liverpool scene. And I love the fact as well that it was celebrated as a Liverpool thing, because quite often people talk about the 60s and they go, oh yeah, Carnaby Street, swinging London, and that's all they talk about. But there was a massive 60s world of culture outside of London. And I always think that when you watch the videos back, and this is like one of my personal bugbears of the 60s, and people just think that everything was like it was in Carnaby Street. It wasn't at all. The world of the 60s outside of London was very different. In fact, in many areas, things didn't really change enormously from the 50s, especially rural areas. But then you get these pockets where people were out on scooters, they were seeing that culture, and they were trying to furiously drag some of it into their local areas. Because I think nowadays we all have, would you describe it as a homogenised experience where we're all kind of living that same experience, whether we're in a small town, a large town? And that is because of things like chain stores. I mean, you don't seem to see many independent stores anymore, not like you used to. But anyway, that's one of my little moans over and done with. Love this area, and also love the fact that they had a pub as well. And I love the fact that there were lots of people within this area that were willing to let children sit on their bikes, that were willing to talk about their vehicles, that were in period dress. They added to it just as much as the vehicles. So thank you to everybody who did that, because I think it added something to Goodwood this year. Now, I wanted to talk to you about Revival style, and the idea is that Goodwood actually have the Goodwood Revival style page as well on Instagram. I think it's on Facebook as well, so you can have a look and be inspired throughout the year. But for me, you know, if you've been watching iDriver Classic for a while, you'll know that I wear vintage every single day. Don't have any modern clothes, don't see a need for it. There is enough clothing out there to clothe the next 6 generations if we don't make anything else. So for me, I love the clothing in the 1960s and the early 70s and some of the late 50s stuff as well. But as well as that, I think it's really important that we do reuse and enjoy some of this stuff. And one of the things that I love about Goodwood is that people get dressed up in the eras. So the idea is you dress from in the period where the track was originally opened, so from 1948 to 1966. And I've obviously got a real passion for it, but I love the fact that people that are dressed normally day in, day out also get into it as well. And some people get really snobby about it and say, oh, you know, I'm only going to wear real vintage. But look, you can create really great looks from things in the charity shops. And this year, they had the Revival stage as well, and they had performances on, and this one was amazing because it was like, if you've ever seen that video on YouTube where it's from the late 60s, early 70s, where people are dancing with cats, this is what this reminded me of. But it's very 1960s fashion show. But that isn't the only area that you might go people watching in, and people watching is a big thing for me at Revival. I love doing it. It's also the dancing as well. Now, I'm not embarrassed to admit that I enjoyed watching these people dance so much it actually brought tears to my eyes. This was my favourite. So this is dotted around all over, so you won't just find one dance floor, you'll find them all over. I had a little dance in the mod and rockers area because it was the kind of music that I like. The 40s and 50s stuff isn't really for me, but I love the fact that they all put it on, and I love the fact that people throw themselves into it. But what if you've got the clothes and you don't really know what to do with your hair? For me, as you might know, because I've done my little fashion shorts and you can watch them back if you haven't already, is that you can get your hair done at Goodwood as well. Now, I've had it done previously at Betty's, but I'm very particular about my hair, and because obviously I do my hair in a vintage style every single day, I like to do my hair as I like to do it. But for ladies and gents that maybe want somebody to do theirs, you can check in to Betty's salon. Now, I love this because it's a 1950s style salon, and all the ladies are doing 50s style hair, and people are in here in period clothing, and this made me smile as well. All the bored husbands and boyfriends sitting around waiting for people. Now, this is worth a quick pop your head in. So even if you aren't getting your hair styled, pop your head in, because it's not just about the music, it's not just about watching people walk out with beautiful heads of hair, it's about the smell. The air thick with hair lacquer. Oh, I just absolutely love it. This is as close as you'll get to a 50s salon in today's world, and I come and visit it every single year. I just love it. I should also add as well that there is a thriving shopping area at Goodwood Revival, and you can shop for all things lifestyle. So you've got paintings, you've got posters, but most of all, and one of my favourites, is you have got the vintage fashion sellers. Now, my favourite of all the people that are here is I think she's called The Looking Glass, and her shop is based in Bridgnorth, and she has a stand here every year. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. One of the reasons that I absolutely love her clothing is because she was one of the very first vintage sellers to ever make me feel like I could come and shop with her. Because when I was big, and if you've been watching iDriver Classic for a while, you'll know that I used to be in a much bigger body. I used to be like 25 stone, I think it was. And so finding vintage in my size was sometimes a bit of a challenge, but I always think I dressed well, and I loved what I wore, and I loved my clothes, and I was very proud of my clothes. And sometimes you'd go into vintage stores and people would be really rude. And I remember going into one once and someone said, I haven't got anything to fit you. I thought, right, well, you have got handbags and you have got accessories and you have got hats, which was what I was shopping for. But okay, you're not going to get any of my money now. And the lady at the looking glass was so lovely to me, and she dressed me in my first year of Goodwood, and she showed me all the stuff that was in my size, and she stocked stuff all the way up into bigger sizes. And so therefore I just had to mention that she's my favourite person. I shop with her every year, and this year I bought a dress, a white trouser suit, which, I mean, when am I going to wear that? But I loved it. It immediately hooked me in. I thought, oh, this is amazing. And I bought something else as well, can't remember. Spent too much money. I also went shopping over the road and bought myself an original 60s handbag as well, which no doubt I'll pop up with next year, but it's a beautiful piece. And you know what? The prices weren't bad either, and that's something I should say. And make sure you shop round, because some of the vintage sellers, I think, are on the expensive side of things. But ladies like the Looking Glass, they really aren't. And there was also the Oxfam and the other charity store as well. And I bought myself a new old stock St Michael's skirt, which I cannot wait to wear to work. So yes, lots of stuff, worth a look. And if you are coming, bring some money with you, because there is so much good stuff here, you'd be a fool to miss out on it. The weather at Goodwood this year has been a little all over the place, so it's been really hard to get out into one of my favourite areas, which is the Classic Car car park. However, as you can probably see here, there are more classic cars here, despite the weather, despite the mud, despite having to drive across fields. There are many classic car shows in the height of summer where there isn't a cloud in the sky. So bravo to every single classic car owner that's here. Now, I'm going to come and show you some of these cars, a few more of them. And I think you're going to be really surprised, because have a look at the number plates as you go, because there are number plates from all over. We followed a Jawa in, and I really wanted to get a photograph to show you all that had come from Switzerland. However, someone in a modern, I think it was a Porsche, jumped in, and I just thought, oh, I could really do with a photo. But anyway, come and have a look at what I have managed to grab, because I think you are going to be pleasantly surprised at how incredible the selection is. Now, I've deliberately put this around halfway through the video, because it's usually halfway through an event or through the day where I just end up absolutely overwhelmed. And usually it's because I'm like, right, I want to film 58 things, but I can only film one thing at once, or I want to be in 72 different places and I can be at once. And then I work myself up into a stupor, and then I just end up needing some time on my own, or just some quiet time to reflect. And so one of my greatest escapes at Goodwood that I don't mind sharing with you, and I think that would be really great for you too, perhaps if you suffer in the same sort of way where things just get all a little bit too much, you need a bit of quiet time, is the pre-66 and the tax-exempt parking areas. I love them. I love to come and look around the cars, and I quite often do this little bit on my own. I don't bring people with me. And the reason is that I love to just experience the cars, geek out about the number plates and think, oh my God, I can't believe that's driven all the way from there. And just get really excited about cars that I've never seen in the metal before. And when you come and explore this on your own, you've got that lovely luxury of just being able to go at your own pace. So if you are coming with other people, don't be frightened to split off and agree to meet back at a certain time. And also, please don't miss this area, because even though it's not technically part of Goodwood Revival, as in it's not an organised display, so they don't know exactly what's going to be here, I think this is one of the biggest gems. That's why I wrote about it for Goodwood, because I felt so passionately about it. And I really wanted to acknowledge the fact that so many people drive so far and bring such beautiful vehicles for us to all enjoy. And, you know, we don't even know what's coming. It's like a total surprise. And I love the fact that it's, in my opinion, one of the best car shows of the year. And yet no one even talks about it as a car show. It's simply just a car park. Now, I want you to just switch off, relax and enjoy this display like I did. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop talking, very rare for me, but I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to let you enjoy the cars, and I'm just going to put a little bit of gentle classical background music on. And then we're going to meet up again in a few minutes, and I'm going to show you some other bits and pieces, because there's a lot to see here. And I think that there are a lot of people that watch this channel that are also neurodivergent and find it very difficult to go to events and find somewhere where they can just be quiet. So I'm making you aware of this bit, and I'm giving you that chance to switch off halfway through this video like I did. And then we're going to meet up and we're going to look at something else, because honestly, the one thing I probably haven't told you in this video, and that I probably should, is A, bring a pair of Wellingtons, because you don't know what the weather's going to be because it's September, and B, bring a sensible pair of shoes. The amount of ladies I see sinking into the mud and then avoiding amazing areas of the event because they're in heels, you're missing out. Just bring a sensible pair of flat shoes. I always do. I don't care if it ruins my outfit, because I think, well, I'm not here to look like a show pony, I'm here to enjoy the event. Anyway, enough of me nattering. Let's have a nice little bit of switch off time, and then I'm going to show you the Levant Bank parking.